Well, in a dramatic turn of events, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's emergency bill that aimed at reviving his plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda avoided defeat in Parliament. The House of Commons witnessed a rebellion by dozens of Sunak's own lawmakers, exposing deep divisions within the party. However, after a day of last-minute negotiations and parliamentary drama, Sunak secured the victory.
Order! Order! The ayes to the right, 313. The noes to the left, 269. So the ayes have it, unlocked.
Now, Sunak, who staked his reputation on this strategy, wrote in a post on X emphasizing on the fact that it should be up to the British people to decide on who gets to enter the UK. The same shouldn't be decided by criminal gangs or foreign courts. In November, the UK Supreme Court ruled against Sunak's plan. The court cited that the plan would lead to Sunak violating both domestic and international human rights laws and accords. This if he continued with his plan to deport people who came in small boats on England's southern coast and sent them to Rwanda. In retaliation, Sunak forged a new agreement with the East African nation. He introduced emergency laws intended to bypass existing laws and halt deportations. And for the very latest on this, I'm now being joined by Julia Chapman from London. And Julia, so an extraordinary week there for Sunak. He really, has survived, however, but there is a lot of internal rebellion still in the party.
Certainly, this is a party that is very much divided, despite the fact that this bill made it through its first vote in the UK Parliament. There were 29 Conservative MPs that voted that abstained from the vote, saying that they wanted that language to be strengthened. They believe there is still too much leeway in the wording of the bill for it to be challenged. Now, this bill in its current form is aimed at trying to circumvent some of the concerns of the Supreme Court, which declared that the previous policy was illegal because of various different concerns in human rights courts in Europe as well as domestic ones here. But what it really came down to was the issue of whether Rwanda is considered to be a safe country to deport asylum seekers to. Now, the UK government is trying to overcome those concerns by mandating it in law that ministers can ignore injunctions from the European Court of Human Rights, something the right wing of the party had been pushing for. But what they haven't done is prevented individual asylum seekers from appealing their individual deportations. Now, that could mean that certain cases will get bogged down in the courts. It is likely that many asylum seekers that find themselves being deported to Rwanda will want to challenge it. But certainly this is something that has been approved of by quite a lot of more moderate members of the Conservative Party who voted in favour of this bill on the basis that it does not change in its wording. They don't want to see it become any more tight, any more strict in its wording, and they would vote against it if their wording changes before the next vote, which is expected in January. So there's a huge rift in the Conservative Party that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is now having to face. And he has weeks ahead of him of difficult negotiations trying to bridge that gap between the more right-wing members of his party that look unlikely to vote in favour of this bill next time around, and the more moderate voices in the party that say the bill as it stands is the right one. Now, of course, opposition parties have not been voting in favour of it. The Labour Party, the biggest opposition party in Parliament, unanimously voted against this. They certainly don't like to see the strictness of this bill, which is aimed at really disincentivising migrants from coming to this country using unofficial means. And of course, in the UK, there are very few official legal routes for migrants to come to this country.
Right, Julia Chapman, thanks very much indeed for joining us with all those details of what's happening in British politics at the moment with that Rwanda policy.